taking a look at the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups, I have salaries going back to 2017, which is kind of interesting because DraftKings really started with all tournaments in 2018. I feel like maybe I have that wrong. Maybe in 2017, I think after the Masters, they decided to do salaries for all tournaments. Before it was like just majors. So I just find it really interesting that in 2017, I have salaries, which I think it's great. We get to analyze it a little bit more, but just weird. So your optimal lineup in 2017 left $1,700 on the table, which is, again, I would say hard to do. Like if you're going into that mindset of trying to build a lineup that leaves $1,700 on the table, that's impossible. You're opening yourself up to so many different lineup combinations. As much as I'm trying to target the optimal lineup, I am not doing so by leaving a lot of money on the table. I'm trying to really narrow down a small player pool to build my lineups around that follow the sweet spot process. And leaving a lot of money on the table, impossible. Just don't do it. So that's my one PSA when it comes to that. Now, that optimal lineup still included a 10K golfer and a 9K golfer, as well as an 8. So it went 10, 9, 8. But then we went 6, 6, 6. So that's nearly impossible. You don't want to do that. A more realistic lineup that I created that only left $300 on the table, instead of a $6,000 Kevin Tway, you would just change that out with a $7,400 Sung Kang. So again, we go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6. And for all those new to the channel, I'm a big proponent of following a 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 model. Just start there because 20% of our tournaments, I should say, our GPP winners have followed that salary structure, and it's like 11% of optimal lineups also follow that salary structure. So that's where I like to start. It's definitely the most common winning salary structure that there is. Start there, and then you can make like up to 2 substitutions. So how I look at that is, so we start 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Well, we have 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 6 here. So imagine we had Cam Smith instead. Now this is over the price tag. Don't worry about that. But let's say we had this 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Well, here's where we one substitution. Sub from a 7K down to a 6K. There it is. That's one substitution. Now, if you wanted to do another substitution, so we go 1, 7 down to a 6, maybe we can boost, maybe we go 1, 9 down to an 8. Obviously, this isn't an optimal lineup because we don't have the winner in it. However, that's the other type of substitution you can have. So you can see now I go 10, we skip the 9 because we sub a 9 down to an 8. Now we have 2 8s in our lineup, 1 7, and then we subbed our 1 7 down to a 6. That's how you do your 2 substitutions. So hopefully that makes sense. You could also go from like, 10, 8, 7, 7, and you can go from a 9 down to a 7. Because to me, you'd sub from a 9 down to an 8, and then from an 8 down to a 7. That'd be 2 substitutions. I know that's more complicating. You don't see that in this scenario, but I guess perhaps never mind. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. I'm just going to leave it at that. I hope you understand what the 2 substitution things is, or 2 substitution method is. Moving on, going to 2018. Our optimal left even more money on the table, $5,400. And it didn't include a 10K golfer. It didn't even include a 9K golfer. It started with 2 8K golfers, 3 7s, and a 6. That's impossible. Don't do that. Just don't do that. I have a more realistic optimal here, which does start with a 10K golfer. Ryan Moore, by the way, if you know who he is, was a 10K golfer at one point in time. And then you don't see any 9K golfers inside the top 10, so we kind of have to go down to 11th place and find Billy Horschel at $9,100. Then we can still include 2 8K golfers, by the way, which is kind of remarkable. Like, that's really difficult to do, to go along with a 10 and a 9. But these are your low 10. This is a low 10K golfer and a low 9K golfer. paired up with 2 low 8K golfers, and then 2 low 7K golfers, 49,700. So just to reiterate that, that's a 10, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7 following. Remember, 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. Well, here you go. Here are your 2 substitutions. You know that 6K golfer we're supposed to have with this 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6? That 6 moves up to a 7, and then it moves up to an 8. Those are 2 substitutions. There you go. That's how that works. That's your 2018 optimal and GPP winning lineup. In 2019, we don't have a GPP winning lineup. I don't know where that ended up. Oh, I suppose we didn't have a GPP winning lineup the last 2. We had a realistic optimal and then an optimal. In 2019, for whatever reason, I don't have the GPP winning lineup. Let me double check something really quick. I used to look at notes. I think I actually do have the GPP winning lineup right here. Corey Connors actually had a price tag? I don't believe that. That's crazy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really? He must have been like 6K. Had to have been, right? I need to update this then. Well, let's see here. Let me do something really quick while I go through this. Just gonna save that so I can take a look at it while I update. So we had Scheffler in this lineup? I don't think so. Oh yeah, he was right here. Scheffler, Ryan Moore, Siwoo Kim. I mean, Sungjae Im was one as well. Where's Siwoo? Scored 114 points. He's got to be at the top. There he is. I found him. Lucas Glover. I'm actually... That's 5, and then it was Corey Connors. So Corey Connors was in the GPP winning lineup? What was his price tag? Let's see. Well, we can do this powers of deduction. This equals 43,300. So what if this was, let's just say 6,200. Let's just pretend it's 6,200. I have no idea if it was. But your GPP winning lineup would have had 49,500 spent, which most GPP winning lineups don't leave a lot of money on the table. Interesting. Yeah, I don't have the price tag, so I have no idea how much Corey Connors was in 2019. Just going to update this really quickly. Sorry for taking up your time in doing this, but why not, right? If we have the information, why not put it together? 625.50. And I don't know. I think 6,200 was probably the price tag, to be quite honest with you. I don't see how a Monday qualifier isn't like low 6K, and it's not like we even knew who Corey Connors at this time was. So let's just say 49,500. Now that GPP winning lineup was a 10K, a 9K, another 9, 7, 6, 6. So we had our 2 substitutions there. 10K golfer, 9K golfer. Those stay the same. We typically have an 8K golfer, which we don't. We sub that one up to a 9K golfer. And then we go down to our 7K golfer, which we have 1 of. We're supposed to have 2, but we don't here. We sub that one down to a 6K, and there you go. That's how you get the 2 substitutions. So 10, 9, 8, 7, or I'm sorry, 10, 9, 9, 7, 6, 6. That was your GPP winning lineup in 2019. And I'm the optimal lineup is going to be different because I didn't have a price tag to go with Corey Connors. You'd leave $5,000 on the table. That's not happening. We're not leaving $5,000 on the table. And I know I have followers that think leaving a lot of money on the table would be a smart thing to do. How about this? Maybe we just keep Matt Kuchar and then these 5. 49,200. Let's do that. We don't need to have Streelman. I actually don't even know what the DK points were, the difference. So we can go 49,200 there. That's fine. That's a little bit more palpable to leave $800 on the table as opposed to leaving 5,000. You know, like instead of Streelman being our golfer we choose, or instead of Kuchar being our golfer we choose Streelman. There's a $5,000 gap there. Would be a $5,200 gap. So we'll go from 49,200 down to $45,000. So I don't think that's very doable. Not plot. Just don't do that. It's bad. That was your optimal and GPP winning lineup in 2019. We didn't have a tournament in 2020 because of COVID. So we go to 2021. And your optimal lineup left $2,200 on the table. And they're all the golfers here with the black tick marks. So we had Jordan Spieth at $10,000, $10,700. Charlie Hoffman at $9,200. We have no 8K golfers. We actually subbed that 8 down to twice down to a 6, but we do have our two 7K golfers, a 6K, and another 6K. So that gets you your optimal lineup in 2021. Your GPP winning lineup left $200 on the table. And that was, again, Spieth at $10,700, Charlie Hoffman at $9,200, Brandt Snedeker at $66, Chris Kirk at $86, Sebastian Munoz at $7,600, and Matthew Neesmith down here at $7,100. So guess what? 1098, 776. That one at GPP in 2021 scored 570 points. Your optimal actually scored 620. So despite having Neesmith down here at $7,100, only 50 points behind the actual optimal lineup. Now, because the optimal lineup left a bunch of money on the table, I created a more realistic lineup. And that one also follows the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 model. So, I mean, I'm a huge advocate for starting 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. I think it's the best way to go. And then you just make some substitutions. Here's one thing to note. Have you seen a year so far where we gone over this where a 10K golfer was not included? Let's go backwards a little bit. 2021, Spieth at 10.7. In 2019, we just talked about having Kuchar instead of Streelman. So I think you just keep Kuchar there at 11,000. In 2018, we had Ryan Moore as our realistic optimal because you didn't want to leave, you know, $5,400. Yeah, $5,400 on the table. So Ryan Moore at 10,200, which doesn't sound like a sexy name in 2018. It really wasn't, but still. And then Brooks Koepka, 10,900 in 2017. So I guess let's take a look at what 2022 looked like. No 10K golfer. Crazy. Optimal lineup, $3,400 left on the table. Again, impossible to do. All this should tell you is there's going to be a lot of 7 and 6K golfers usually inside the top 10 for this tournament, and most likely going to be in the top 10 for this year's tournament. Your optimal lineup: $6,700 JJ Spawn, $7,800 Matt Kuchar. I'm not going to go all the names. 7, 7, 8,900. And 9,200. So just a recap, that's 9, 8, 3 7s, and a 6. Kind of hard to get to. Your GPP winning lineup had the 6K Spawn, 7K Kuchar, 8K Hadwin, $7,300 Merritt, $9,300 Gary Woodland, and $9,600 Siwoo Kim. So that is 2 9K golfers, an 8K golfer, 2 7s, and a 6. So again, repeat that. $9,600 Siwoo Kim, $9,300 Gary Woodland. So that's quite frankly subbing a 10K golfer down to a 9K golfer. Then we pick our 8K golfer in Hadwin. We have a 7K golfer in Merritt, a 7K golfer in Kuchar, and a $6,700 Spawn. So again, you can start with the 10, 9, 8, 7, 7, 6 model and make up to 2 substitutions. We just end up making 1 substitution here. We go from a 10 down to a 9, but we still have the remaining 9, 8, 7, 7, 6. So again, hopefully that's not confusing. Now, I guess who were our 10K golfers last year and what did they do? McIlroy, Crazy missed the cut. Hideki withdrew. Spieth finished 35th. DeChambeau, who knows? I don't even remember. Yeah, had to have been his last event before joining Live. I would imagine. Maybe, maybe not. I just can't remember. Those are your 10K golfers, 4 of them, like we have this year. Big names not making the cut or withdrawing. So, hey, we had 10K golfers every single year except for 2022, at least in the realistic optimal or just inside the top 10. I mean, they were inside the top 10. That's the big one, but still in the realistic optimal, meaning the easier one to get to. That's crazy. That is crazy talk. Okay. That is going to wrap up the pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. You know what? Actually, let me kind of tie that into something here. So we talked about all these 10K golfers, right? Hatton, Matsuyama, Fowler, and Connors are I was just going to try to combine our and R. They are our 10K golfers this year. Now, normally I would say that's disgusting. Stay away. I kind of think that's a good thing this year. I mean, if you look at all of our other 10K golfers we had over the years that finished inside the top 10, Spieth, sure, that makes sense in 2021. And if I was just to kind of top down look, Finau missed the cut. Scheffler was a 10K golfer, and so is Matsuyama. So Matsuyama just is showing you he doesn't really perform well here each year. So that's interesting. That's, you know, Finau's a big name. So was Spieth. So was Scheffler, but didn't really perform that well. And this is obviously right before Scheffler goes on to win the Masters. Correction. This is 2021, not 2022. My bad. Ignore what I just said. He did not win the Masters after that finish. But interesting that that's our 10K golfers. In 2019, where we had Matt Kuchar at 11,200, which I think is insane. We had Ricky Fowler up there in the 10K range, finished 20th, or inside the top 20. Matt Kuchar, Finau again, not a great finish, and Spieth, not a great finish. I'm sorry, one more. Sungjae did finish inside the top 20. So super interesting there. And I'm only looking at 10K golfers because I think that's probably one of the more important decisions to make this year. Should you start with a 10K golfer or no? So a couple Monday qualifiers, and then we start 12,000 with Sergio, 11,400 with Kuchar, 10,900 with Hoffman, 10,200 with Moore, and 10,000 with Luke List. This isn't great to look at. I won't lie. 2 missed cuts, a 64th and a 51st, and then a top 10. That doesn't really give me confidence. These aren't super great names. They're not sexy names by any means to be inside or to be a 10K golfer. That also is crazy talk. Let's go ahead, remove that. And one last one to look at. Who are 10K golfers in 2017? Some more Monday qualifiers. Kuchar, 11,500. Koepka finished 2nd. Hoffman, Walker, Moore, and Grace all finished inside the top 20. So that's better off. But again, in 2017, Jimmy Walker, I guess you could say, was going to be a favorite just because he's a Texan. He had been playing well. I can't remember when he'd won his PGA championship, but it wasn't too far away from this year. So he was a good golfer then. Moore once again is up there, and I don't think he was that great of a golfer then. Neither was Grace. Like, not like A-list, you know, top tier 10K golfers. Koepka, he would have already won his PGA and US Opens at this time. And then Kuchar's just a, you know, someone who had played this tournament pretty decently. Like, his course history was his average finishing position was 20.75 in 2017, meaning my data goes back to 2013. Those are good that's a good average finishing position at this event, 20th place. So that's probably why he was up in the 10K range. So when we take all that information and we look at 2023, these aren't sexy names to be up here. Hatton is our highest salary golfer. I guess if we take all the information we got from the last couple of years, probably don't choose him, because 10-9 isn't a having the highest salary isn't a good omen at this tournament. Not saying that superstition has to play into your lineup making decisions, but he didn't play really great last week. I don't know what to make of him at this event. I'll play some of him, but I probably caution against you playing too much of him. Same goes with Hideki Matsuyama. But Ricky Fowler and Corey Connors seem like very interesting plays that I got no issue doing. Especially Connors, who has some good course history at this event. A win, finished 35th last year. I think that's fine. And of course, we'll take a look at the buckets here shortly. But that's actually going to conclude my pass optimal and GPP winning lineups. I want to always wrap these things into each other. Instead of just giving you the information and not telling you what you should do with that information, or not suggesting what to do with that information, I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing to consider.